Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 9th, 2017. Welcome to another episode of Just Casual Vlogs. Today, I'm going to be talking about the recent podcast, Weldon Green podcast episode about motivation. Talked about motivation a few times on here, but I want to talk about specifically how I think I've hit a low in my motivation and back up on my way up. So, what happened? Good question. Do I even know what happened? I think actually I definitely do know what happened. So the last month or so, I've been keeping myself busy with some other projects I cannot talk about right now. More of my personal life trajectory stuff, and I've had just bad news, and that really sucks. It's okay, nothing serious. It's just like I've had a few projects that I really wanted to grab and worked my butt off, and just things didn't work out. So super discouraging, pretty disappointing, makes me pretty sad, and I should keep my mic out. And that just like that hit me, and it totally sucks. Makes me sad, and it kind of, it basically, a little bit of discouragement to just basically keep me from pushing forward easily. And, it was through a few Gary Vee talks I heard. I mean, that's why I listen to him. He kind of keeps me motivated and inspired, and just keeps me like, okay, let's do this, let's go. And that's kind of my tool. That's how I use him, apart from a few, not a few, but a lot of good information that he gives on his podcast and content that I can apply to just whatever I'm doing. But yeah, I hit a new low in my motivation. I think probably the lowest so far this year. And it just totally sucked. And the thing that brought me back kind of was just the idea of failure. We are so stuck up on failure. Failure is not a bad thing. Failure is just you gotta learn from failure, right? And oh man, you have to learn from failure. And with failure comes more opportunities too, because if you succeed, that opens a door. If you fail, that opens more doors. I think it opens more doors, because that means that that is not the path you're going, or maybe you need to approach it a different way. But it just helps focus, right? If I wanted to, let's say I wanted to work with CLG or something, like their content creative or something, and because I get a rejection from them or something, then bam, I have doors open to 9 other teams, right? That's the way you need to be looking at things. And once I was able to get that in the right mindset and frame of reference, failure wasn't that big of a deal. I'm like, oh, okay. So I learned from that. That's good. That closed some doors, or this meant that this is not the path that I need to go down, so now I can focus my efforts elsewhere. And part of that was just kind of realizing that I haven't been as grateful about the opportunity that I've gotten with Weldon, and I really, really, really need to take advantage and work my ass off to make sure the Weldon Green podcast is good and succeeds. And a lot of that is honestly on my plate. It's 98% on my plate. And realizing that was whew, you know what? I need to work on this. I need to work, And that gave me a little boost of energy. And this week, especially being a short week for me, because I'm traveling up to Minnesota to see my sister graduate, yay! It really started to put a little bit of pressure on me. Oh, you know what? If we want a bi-weekly schedule, this is my work week, and now it's only 3 mornings. And then next week I got a release. I'm like, crap, I need to book it, I need to work. So I've been waking up early and just getting stuff done. And I'm really happy about the quality of the work that I've done this week, and that's just even more motivating. And then I also, like, I talked about the whole complaining stuff, and recently, like, Monday, I was like, you know what, Mondays are not bad, Mondays are good. I love waking up on Mondays because it's like time to start on the podcast, because usually I don't work it on the weekend, so I'm like, oh yes, like, it's time to go. And I'm thinking about things, and Lola has been good. I had a really nice talk with the group, with the hosts and stuff, about Lola. That was really helpful. And I've been a little less organized, but at the same time getting a lot more done, just because even though I'm not as organized, I'm still more organized than I was before, I guess. And I'm learning how to reallocate my time to put a little more time into the Weldon stuff. And the Lola stuff just has to, like, to a certain extent, it needs to be done. And then I need to, like, trust in the system that I'm putting in place, and trust in the process, and fail and succeed. So we're going to have a guest this Wednesday. Today, Tuesday. I actually don't know if he's going to show up. It's hard because he's in Korea. So I don't know exactly. It's hard to communicate, right? And I kind of told him, like, oh, I think you'll come on in April, and then he didn't hear back from me all of April, and then I contacted him back in May. So I guess that's kind of my bad. I'm not sure if that's my bad. I stayed in communication, I guess. I'm not exactly sure if I didn't keep the correct etiquette. Still better than a lot of people in the esports industry, though. Okay, so that being said, yeah, motivation was at an all-time low. Still not bad. It wasn't like, oh, I don't want to do it. It was more like I couldn't wake up as early as I needed to. I couldn't get to bed as early as I should have. I couldn't. Yeah, and I hit a few roadblocks. Like, it was good because I was working on the Weldon Green podcast, and I had a brainstormed idea I have a brainstorm sheet for topics that I want to discuss, potential topics I think would be good for the show. And a few have been sitting on there, and then I've been compiling questions every now and then onto that sheet. And one of them was, what was it? The topic that I picked, it was communication. So, like, shot calling and communicating a game. And if you can't tell from the Weldon Green podcast, the podcast is made from snippets and clips from his previous content. There's like 130 some episodes of the Ask Weldon show. And the problem is I cannot listen to every single one, and not every single one is well documented with what questions they've asked. Even though the title has like 3 questions in it, the title usually covers like 3 topics, but there might be like 6 questions. So I can only search the titles, and I can't listen to like 80 episodes of it. It just takes too much time. And it's probably not worth my time. I need to pick the easy stuff and the low-hanging fruit and the big topics that he talks about. So when I was searching for questions for communication, I had enough questions. There was like 5 questions to make an episode or so. The problem, oh my gosh, sorry guys, it's like tilted. The problem is those questions weren't like good enough, or they didn't make a cohesive story. There was too many holes, like in, there were too many holes. Like, you want like good questions, basic questions about communication, and they weren't there. And I can give my opinion, but what I realized with the Ask Weldon or the Weldon Green podcast is that I need to make sure, the goal is to make sure that Weldon's point of view or Weldon's content is coming through, not me. And what I'm doing, because Weldon's the expert, he knows his stuff. What I do on the podcast is to make sure I guide the conversation and guide the listener through what Weldon's talking about, making sure that things he says stick, making sure people understand, making sure I reiterate, making sure that people don't get bored. But I'm not there to tell people how to communicate. Weldon's there to do that, and I'm there to take what Weldon says, add to it, fine-tune it, clean it up, polish it, direct it, whatever I need to do to make sure that the audience gets it. So, anyway, the communication, I was like, oh, I can't find it. It's hard. This is the slowest part of the work process, or to me is the slowest part. Or I take that back, not the slowest part, but the part that's the hardest for me to do and the least enjoying part of it. Because it's just like, oh, I feel like I'm sifting through a whole bunch of stuff trying to find like a needle in a haystack, and the odds are stacked against me. But anyway, so because of that, I spent like a day and a half like trying to find it, and like, okay, maybe I can make it work. And I've had that instance where like, oh, this just doesn't work. And then I'm like, oh, I found the perfect clip. And it links it perfectly and we're good. Then other times I'm just like, this time I'm just like, nope, scrapping communication. And I started like going through his compiled questions were like episode 80 to like 130, where he actually has them in a spreadsheet. He has the question. I don't get the answers though, because the answers sometimes are good. I went through the spreadsheet and then found out like, oh, there's a lot of topics about teamwork. Like, oh, teamwork is interesting. So it still involves communication, so I could use some of those communication stuff. I can use more leadership stuff, because I was thinking leadership could be another one. But yeah, so I hit an all-time low in motivation. It sucked. Now on the upswing, and I think basically a lot of that was from really understanding and reiterating what my goals are and what I'm trying to do, and being values driven rather than emotional driven. And yeah, that's really helped. So enjoy this vlog. Thanks. Comment, subscribe, like please, and see you next time.